Nursing students, time to talk. Welcome to the Real Talk School of Nursing podcast. I'm your good and faithful host, Michael Smith. I have a great episode this week. Like the past few weeks of my life, it's gonna be a whirlwind. I'll be reflecting on my nursing school journey, sharing some dark secrets and trials I've been through as a nursing student, and maybe even making sense of what the next few months are gonna look like. Thank you to everyone who liked the page and shared the giveaway post for this last week. Listen to the end of the show to hear if your name is picked for your choice of the 10-ounce Yeti tumbler or the 16-ounce thermos food jar with spoon. And look out next week for the final giveaway post. Just make sure that you've liked the page and shared the post. For my Instagrammers, just follow me and tag an aspiring nurse or nursing student for your chance to win. Each extra tag on Facebook and Instagram gets you an extra entry to win, so watch out for that giveaway post next week. If you like the show, the Real Talk School of Nursing podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Libsyn Web Player, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. So go to wherever you download podcasts, subscribe, rate us, review us, write into the show, smash that subscribe button, and remember to only leave 5-star reviews because that's the only rating that counts to get us noticed by more nursing students. Write into the show at realtalknursing@gmail.com or on Facebook Messenger. You can also join us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I try to post something inspiring, funny, or thoughtful almost every day. We're building a community of fun and supportive nursing students, and I want you to be part of this crazy nursing school journey. So, to say that the last few weeks have been a whirlwind would be a vast understatement. In the excitement of my countdown to the end of the program, recording the show, putting resources together for my NCLEX study time, and really getting into the nuts and bolts of how the next 6 weeks is really going to look for me, it's just crazy. So, like last night, I finished my final assignment for my program, and while I can say it was a relief, I was also filled with disquiet. So first, this short assignment was really only 20 points, but it was the only time that we really got to talk about our thesis, that we've been working on for 6 to 12 months with a group of other people, and really, otherwise we're just sitting there at our computers and typing and writing and researching and doing all this stuff, and really the only person who really got to see it was the instructor. And so this was a really great opportunity for us to kind of say, oh my God, like look at the stuff that I dug up, look at the stuff that I learned. And so it was kind of exciting, but when it was over, I felt a little bit of a letdown. Happy, for sure. Relieved. But also something else. Like I don't have the words for it. So the next morning, I woke up and I'm bumming around the house, not worried about an assignment for the first time in a long time. I'm not worried about going down into my little homework cave and work on the paper. And I felt like that yoke that has been hitched to everybody in my class for the last 2 years is suddenly gone. And we, gotten used to it. The stress level and the non-ability to do things that needed to get done around the house, So I cleaned the bathroom, which doesn't seem like that it should be that big of a deal, but, rather than like, oh, I got to clean my sink, or I got to clean the toilet, or I got to spray down the shower, or whatever it is, like to be able to clean the whole thing all at once seems like a big deal this morning. I cleaned off my bedside table of the dust and cough medicine bottles, textbooks, notebooks. I even got out a personal book that I started reading right before nursing school that I hadn't been able to touch. I took out the garbage, I cleaned the garage, I vacuumed floors, I did some meal prep stuff, which I'll go into a little bit later. I went grocery shopping. And I went out today and I finally got time to get out and get new glasses. So mine had like a major scratch right in the middle of my field of vision, and I just didn't have time to do anything about it until today. So it was kind of an amazing day, but like very different. Now, having said all that, I want to say that while the pressure has been greatly reduced, there's still a chance that my instructor could decide that she hated my work on these last 2 assignments, and I don't really want to imagine what I would do at this point if something like that happened, but I have in great detail, and not something that I really want to, talk about or to think about or dwell on is probably the better way to say it. But anyway, I'm feeling quite acutely that there's a clock still ticking, and there is. It's the NCLEX clock. I have a target date in mind, and I hope that I can get my authorization letter soon so I can get, so I can see what dates are available. And, it's all just part of the pressure of nursing school that never stops. Like I'm done with all my assignments, and still that pressure just never stops. So let's go back to the beginning. I remember when I went to orientation, how hopeful I was and how stupid. My program advertised itself as a nights and weekends program, and they said in the information sessions that I went to that they understood that a large portion of the people who apply are adults and have children and jobs. And, little did I realize that everyone, except a crazy few, kept working. I think like only 3 people in my class were able to keep working at the end. I remember feeling confident. After all, I'd basically aced all my prereq classes. I'd been in EMT for about a year at that point, and I felt like I had a good handle on things. But nursing school is different. And despite all the conversation all the conversations I've had with listeners, friends in other schools, other nurses who had been to all kinds of different programs like, associate degree programs, RN to BSN programs, even other master's programs, or direct entry master's programs, I still really feel like my program is head and shoulders above crazy sometimes. There's been lots of instructor issues, director issues. Our dean of nursing, I think at the end of my first year, was asked to leave. And I never really had any, interaction with her, so I have no idea what the deal was. But, there was like, all of a sudden, the program is just going crazy, and it's really hard to figure out what to do with all that, So, it's hard remembering all that stuff. So, the first year, so again, going back to the beginning, that first year was 100% just about survival. Do whatever you had to do to make it. And we did. Whatever we had to do to make it, we did. It got nasty between some students, particularly when we had to work in groups. And everybody is like a type AAA personality, so everybody's grasping for control, not wanting anyone else to be the reason they get a bad grade. It was like having 10 people trying to fly a helicopter. But, eventually we got through. And I think sometime in that fall, so, still in the first year, but we got through first semester, we got through summer session, and now we're in the fall. And I think sometime in that fall, one of my classmates took this beautiful picture on campus. There's this bridge on campus, and it's, in a long sidewalk. And I think it's during the autumnal equinox. The sidewalk, the sun, and the bridge all line up perfectly. The sun was setting. The sun was setting. And she took this picture and sent it to all of us with a caption, "There's light at the end of the tunnel." And at the end of our first year, it sure seemed like it just, God, it must be true. Please be true. Sponsoring this segment of the Real Talk School of Nursing podcast is NRSNG.com. Go to the Real Talk School of Nursing Facebook page or Twitter feed and click on the link to get your $1 trial. I found NRSNG.com as a first-year nursing student. I did my trial and I was hooked. Since then, NRSNG.com has added tons of great content and continues to add more. NRSNG.com is a complete education platform for nurses, nursing students, and includes video and audio courses, cheat sheets for quick reference, a mobile app, a huge question bank, and a solid SimClex. NRSNG.com is a complete solution and they aren't overpriced. Not just preparing students for a test, NRSNG.com provides a home base that members can reference anytime as a nurse. Go to the Real Talk School of Nursing Facebook page or Twitter feed and click on the link for your $1 trial. That's NRSNG.com, and don't forget to go through the link on the Real Talk School of Nursing Facebook page or Twitter feed. Okay, so welcome back. Don't forget, listen to the end of the show for the giveaway drawing. Okay, so as I look back, and despite all the hours and the frustration, there are a couple of occasions that truly stand out as being some of the worst moments in my nursing school experience. So it's my second term, and it's going well, I think. It's summer, the sun is out, I'm doing well in quizzes and labs, like I'm feeling after first semester that I kind of, caught my pace, and I'm right on it. Like I'm riding the wave of chaos and things are going really well. And clinicals for this are at a very high acuity children's hospital. And a lot of people get kind of freaked out by that, but I have kids, so it's like, okay, well, I understand how therapeutic communication works with little kids, so I was feeling pretty good about it. But unlike the semester before, we didn't get our patient assignments the night prior. And so in the previous semester, we'd go there the night prior, look up our patient, start filling out our care plans with medications, patho, comorbidities, and all that kind of stuff. And this was usually, so I'd have to drive into the metro area, and we'd get there, and this is 5 or 6 o'clock at night or something. And I'm, getting all this data off of their stuff. You can't copy and paste and whatever else. You're literally rewriting all of this stuff, and that's lab values and everything, because all of that has to go into the patho for our care plans that have to be done, have to be shown to the instructor the next morning, or you can't start clinical. So it's a big deal. And this is usually 4 to 5 hours of work at home after getting all the information from the charts. And that's usually starting of 5 or 6 at night, unless you had a drive. And there was a few of us who did, but so most of us were probably easily up until 11 o'clock at night. And I think most of us were up much, much later than that and had to be back on the floor. We had to be back there at 6 a.m. or something like that. So I'm leaving my house at 4:45 or something like that to make sure that I have enough time to get into the metro area and all that kind of stuff. So it's a big deal. So I walk onto the floor in the children's hospital. We don't have our patient assignment yet. I get my patient assignment, and this patient is under 10 years old. Obviously, it's a children's hospital, so under 18 anyway, but mine's under 10. The family doesn't speak English. He's nonverbal. And the only family that's there when I get there is a 12-year-old sister and 11-year-old aunt or something like that. So, it comes from a big family, seemingly. And so I get the list of medications, and my jaw just drops to the floor. There's 25 medications. Now, later in your nursing career, 25 medications isn't going to really seem like that big of a deal for a geriatric, a geriatric assignment or something like that, or not geriatric, gerontological assignments. So, polypharm is a big deal for older patients and stuff like that. But for a kid who's under 10, 25 medications is crazy. That's a lot. And I'm looking through his medical history, and it's crazy. It's insane. Over 20 ongoing chronic conditions, most of which, as a second semester nursing student, I'd never heard of before. So I start digging into these conditions, right? Because you have to. And, you go into the room and you're introducing yourself and stuff like that, but you don't know anything about the patient if you just go in cold. So you kind of want to do a little bit of homework beforehand. So I start digging into these conditions because the last thing that I want to do is be giving a medication and my instructor asks, so what's this medication for? And I don't know. That's like, the dread. And so the instructor comes by, sees me, and asks me if I'm ready to give meds. It's really early, so like meds are due at, let's say 9 or something like that, and it's 7:30 or 7:45 or something like that. So like, it's early, but gosh, do I say no? Would I look like I'm unprepared or afraid? I say hesitantly that I have the med list, but there's a lot of medications, and I'm kind of being a little, hinting that I'm a little, apprehensive about it or, whatever. And she smirks and says, it's fine, and we'll go in and give meds. And I think for morning med, I think there was something like 15 medications. It was the majority of the medications that they were prescribed. And I have notes that I scribbled on about probably half of those. We hadn't been through a farm course yet, so basically all the information that I have is from Dr. Google. Getting on and like, not an established student, so there is all the resources that you kind of gather as you progress through nursing school aren't in place yet at that point. And of course, we go in there and she asks me what one of the medications is, and I look at my notes and my mind goes blank. Like I'm looking right at the answer. It was like my mind was blank, like I couldn't recognize my own handwriting or something. And I got an answer out, and she says, this is a thiazide diuretic, and then, goes into a long explanation of how it works and stuff and such like that. And meanwhile, the patient is staring at us with these big puppy dog eyes, getting teary because, this is a ton of medications. And I'm sure because we're talking over him, having an alien conversation about medications and using a bunch of, long, scary words sounding, scary sounding words to a kid who's under 10. So I make it through the day. I try to cluster cares. I know that because he's in the hospital so often, this is his life. And I don't want to be in the room like constantly, in and out and in and out and in and out. He's a kid. He wants time to play, sleep, eat, play some video games. It's a pretty nice hospital. So, this is they try to make it as much of a like home-like environment as they can. So, I go into the room after I have a little bit of knowledge about him. I go into the room and I joke around with the patient a little bit, and they were nonverbal, but they sure had a big smile. And since the family didn't speak much English either, it was hard to tell if he was smiling because I was being a goofball with him or if he was just laughing at me. Either way, I was fine with it. As long as I'm not making the kid cry at this point, I'm fine. So I get all my stuff done and I go back to the computer to finish collecting data that I need for my care plan. And when I say care plans, so one of my friends did her RN to BSN at some point, and I think at some point, it was probably after this occasion, but at some point I just said, hey, can I look at a couple of your care plans to, see what they look like, see if I can dig up some insight or something. And she sends me like this crappy cell phone picture, like, there you go. And I'm like, that's a really cool cover page there. That's a great summary. And she's like, no, that's the whole thing. And I'm like, you have a 1-page care plan? That's insane. Care plans for us are like these 30-page single-space behemoths from hell. So data is a huge thing, and patho and medication sections for, were overwhelming, but so I go back to the computer and I'm collecting all this data and stuff like that. I'd been in and out of the room. I did everything that I could, and, whatever. We go back and we make it through the day. I get through it, or so I think. A month or 6 weeks after that clinical was over, I get an email from my program director saying that there was some concerns about my care, and I was to meet with her to discuss a guided improvement plan. And of course, what's the automatic reaction? The automatic reaction is that, we just get, flushed. Like, you can feel your face heat and you can feel your heart rate, speeding up, and the blood pressure just skyrockets. And like, I'm just like, wow, this sounds super formal. And the clinical instructor said that I was unprepared and that I was not engaging with the patient. And I couldn't imagine where this came from. Unengaged? Me? Okay. For my listeners who have listened to me for more than one episode, or even one episode, I don't think anybody can really accuse me of being unengaged on any level. So, this can't be freaking real. It's like, this is a mistake. She must have me confused with somebody else, or something. So, sure enough, I'm in the office and my director, and I'm being read the riot act. She didn't want to hear my side of things at all. I was guilty of this as far as she was concerned. She told me that I wasn't representing the school well. I wasn't representing myself well. She stated outright in that meeting that I wasn't a good student and I should probably reconsider my decision to be in this program. And then told me that I had to sign this form, admitting and agreeing to everything, or I would not be allowed to continue. Dumbfounding, absolutely dumbfounding. And, of course I agreed with none of it, but what choice did I have? I'd already invested a lot of time and money into the program, into prereqs and all the stuff that leads up to it. Not to mention, I'd pretty much bet the farm on making it through this program. I had a family support, to support. This director had told me the first semester that I wasn't allowed to continue if I kept my job, because my first exam was below our program's passing standard. So, like, there's a ton of investment into this. So, I agreed with none of it, but of course I signed it, and it still burns that I was labeled as someone who's unprepared and unengaged. And for months, it seems, I was a wreck. I'm sure I was no fun to be around. I think I really turned inward, and looking back, I shrunk as a person. And, it was a really harrowing experience. And but there's good news here. I made it through. I still consider myself to be the least academically successful person in my program, but I still have, pretty good grades, and I have a lot to be confident about, but I also know that I have a lot to learn. So what can someone who's looking at nursing school get out of this sob story? What could someone who is going through a tough time while in nursing school get out of this? First, ask that again, buddy.
Can you please figure out how this works? This arm's not gonna go down because it's supposed to go down like that one.
It's gonna go down like this one? Well, I don't know if I can fix it right now, buddy. Is that what you wanted to do? I think the hands need to fold in like this. There. Like that?
Yep.
Like that? There we go. Oh, can I get it to stay? Oh, there we go. There.
Now, how did these tires...
Boy, I don't know. Here, let's take a look at this. This looks crazy. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's buttons and stuff like that. Oh, this is a crazy guy you got here, buddy.
That's from Mommy.
That's from Mom, huh?
She gave it to me.
Oh, that's super nice of her.
It's a natural car transformer.
There you go. Well, there you go. Well, you keep playing with it, okay, buddy? So, so there you go. There's some natural interruption for us, and so that was my son. So okay. So let me find out see if I can remember where I was. So, what can someone who's looking at nursing school get out of this sob story? What could somebody who's going through a tough time in nursing school really get out of this? First is that there will be trials in school. Nursing school isn't just content. So, if I think back, like the most academically gifted student the program has ever seen was in my cohort, and they weren't able to continue past our first summer. They were true. I mean, and when I say they were gifted, I mean gifted, truly gifted, and a really top-notch person, but they weren't managing their life outside of school well enough, and they left in the first year. And I swear, in the best test, the best exam in nursing school I've ever done, I think I lost more points in my best exam than he lost in 2 semesters. So, extremely gifted. Third, you're going to make mistakes, or there will be events that seem unrecoverable, and that's not necessarily true. I think if you're honest and upstanding, if you're natural and kind, if you're faking, your classmates are going to see right through you. So don't be fake. Don't do that. Just be a good, honest, upstanding person. Be natural and kind, and I think you're going to be okay. So the other event that really burns in my soul is when I took a screenshot of a Kaplan question in a quiz that I made for studying, and I didn't understand the rationale. So I sent it to one of my instructors, hoping that I'd get some clarification, and I never got an answer back. But it was the end of the semester. I figured they were busy or, whatever. It was a long shot that I was going to get an answer from this instructor anyway, so that instructor was not the most responsive of the instructors that, we had. But I never got an answer back. But about a month later, I'm starting a new term or whatever, and my program director, cites me for an academic integrity violation and tells me that I'm in violation of the university's academic integrity policy. And again, I'm floored. I'm like, I read this policy 80 times and I found nothing that was even remotely violated. So I went to, meet with the instructors for the next class I was instructed to do by my director. And, throughout the meeting, and I'm trying to be polite and I'm trying to be considerate of the fact that I'm the one who is potentially in trouble here. So, I'm asking them as politely as I can, trying to mask the fact that I'm super frustrated, and again, it's hard to not feel like I was being targeted at this point. So I just, I said, how was I supposed to handle asking this question? And I said, I can't direct her to the question because it was a quiz that I made it with Kaplan, and there's something like 5,000 questions. And, I said, could I have copied and pasted the question and rationale? Well, they said no to that. I asked if I could have remembered the whole question. Let's say I had a photographic memory and I could remember the whole question and the rationale word for word, and I typed it. Would that be permissible? And they said no. So okay, so how do I ask the question? they didn't have an answer. But in the end, they didn't want to discourage me from asking questions, which is kind of exactly what they did. But, at least they agreed that I hadn't intended to gain some unfair academic advantage, disseminate answers, I hadn't copied information during an assignment, I hadn't conducted plagiarism and presented someone else's work as my own, and I hadn't falsified data or deceived anyone. And if I had, it would be really stupid for me to do so by emailing, this to an instructor. So it was really easy to feel like the director and one of the instructors had really, had it out for me. And it's still hard to not feel that way. But it's harder to recover from being a jerk than it is from making a mistake or seemingly making one. So again, be kind, be honest, help others, be your natural self, and learn. Get better, be better, work hard, and everything is going to turn out okay. Coming up next is our drawing, so stay tuned. But first, our sponsor for this segment is Faux Kit. These Faux Kit bags are just the thing to get you through a busy day as a nursing student. Faux Kit is different for everyone, and each Faux Kit contains a different mix that's sure to make opening your Faux Kit a joy. Each Faux Kit also has a few extra items, so you can spread the Faux Kit around. Each Faux Kit is filled to order with only freshly harvested ingredients to ensure your Faux Kit is as fresh the day you open it as it was the day your Faux Kit was packed. 1-year renewable subscriptions are available, and Faux Kits can be purchased in a variety of sizes. Faux Kit snack size, small, medium, large Faux Kits are available, and on those really hard days, an extra large Faux Kit bag could be just what the doctor ordered. Delivered by drivers who are as polite as they are punctual. Mention the Real Talk School of Nursing podcast for 50% off your first order of Faux Kit. Man, now I'm all hungry. So I still think about that picture of the sunshine under the bridge. That was over a year ago, and I recall thinking, man, like a year left. I don't even see the tunnel, let alone a light at the end of the tunnel. And then last summer, I really started feeling like I would actually make it through the program. I would think, I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I can see a sign that says tunnel ahead. And then of course we had the awful farm course last fall, and, what a loop that threw everyone for. But, we all made it. And then came January term. And then finally this spring semester, and I gotta tell you, like that's when I felt like I was finally in the tunnel. I felt like I just needed to do good, honest work, stay motivated, and the semester would go quickly. And I couldn't have been more wrong. It drug on. It took forever. January was the longest month I'd ever experienced up until February. And I was sure that there were at least 100 days in February this year. And then finally, this last week came. So let me tell you about this past week or two. So I got turned down for the hospital that I really wanted to be at. Huge disappointment. And I was like, okay, fine. So I started applying to some other hospitals that were really far away from my house, feeling desperate, maybe a little discouraged too. And I felt a lot of anger, a little bit of rage at not getting selected for the job and my hospital of choice. And then my manager in the ER that I work at sent me an email and said she'd received an email from our HR rep, and a short notice interview was set up, and I jumped at it. And so I got my suit cleaned and pressed. It sure seemed to have shrunk, since last time I worn it. So I think that was before nursing school. I can't imagine what happened there. And I was up ready to go the day of the interview. I was up and ready to go. I was just leaving the house, plenty of time to spare, as is my custom. And my daycare called to tell me that my bulletproof daughter had thrown up quite violently and I had to come and pick her up. So, I did whatever, grown man would do in this situation. I called my mom, and she couldn't get there, and I was the only person in the area until like noon. So my second call was to the HR rep, and I asked if I could reschedule. I thought for sure I should just write this job off. There's no way that, in an interview, there's no way an interview is going to go well after rescheduling it in the hour prior to the interview. But the HR rep called me back, right away and rescheduled the interview for later that day. I went and picked up my daughter, who of course felt 100% better after vomiting. Who could have guessed that? And just, isn't that just the way it goes? Just crazy. And so I went to the interview, and I really felt like I knocked it out of the park. I knocked it out of the park. But my luck wasn't running high that day, so I sat in the parking lot, and, I was like, I'm going to throw the dice. I'm going to throw the dice. The interview went really well. I'm just going to do it. And I took a risk and ended my, thank you follow-up email with, let's do awesome stuff together. Basically it's exactly what I wrote at the end. That was my that was my closing. And it was either going to guarantee that I never be offered a job ever again within that system, or it was going to be the clincher. And the manager called the HR rep that afternoon and said that I needed to be offered a position ASAP. I got a call the next day from the HR rep saying that I was being offered a job, and they hoped I could start as soon as possible. And that was a much needed boost. I am convinced that if I had let all the other stuff that was going on weigh me down, I would never have had a good, I would never have had that good of an interview. I'm sure I would have come off as melancholy and resentful. And so you never know when an opportunity is going to knock. I hope that you're ready, I hope you're ready to answer. I hope that you're able to recover from disappointments and not, cling to stuff. Forgive, forget, and move on. And yes, I realize that I'm not preaching from a seat of perfection. I'm fully aware I'm trying to help others stay clean whilst being muddy myself. But I don't think people who, but I also think that people who don't think they have any mud on them, so to speak, are unforgiving of others, and that doesn't help anybody. So there it is. So, it could have been a much, much different week. So the last thing I want to talk about today is about what the last 2 weeks have been like. I started getting back into the gym, and, and this goes back to, reflecting all the way back to the beginning. With my drive, work, kids, a house to maintain, I had to make a deliberate decision to sacrifice fitness while I was in school. The drive was the most pressing issue probably that drove me to this decision, and I couldn't drive an hour or 90 minutes and then work out for an hour on campus or something like that. I needed to catch up, with that time lost in the drive. And so, I get to school and I just go, okay, I can go work out, or I can spend the next hour, because I have to plan way ahead to make sure that I have enough time for my drive. So I have to plan way ahead and, leave my house very early. And so I would get to school and says, well, I can go and work out, or I can spend the next hour studying and going through materials and stuff like that. And, I needed to catch up that time that was lost in the drive. So I called my friend Michael Vespa. You heard him in episode 52. And some of you might recall him from the beginning of my tenure, so that was episode 52. And I'm doing some remote training with them. I'm getting nutritional guidance, increasing the impact of my workouts further into my day, and making my GI system so much happier. And I get daily workouts and videos. There's been a couple of weird exercises and stuff that I was like, I have no idea what that is. But the app that they use, has videos in it, so it actually shows you what it's supposed to look like, and that's really helpful. It's a 12-week program, and I'm in week 2. I've missed a couple of workouts because the school schedule, kids, and the gym schedule, it closed earlier than I thought it did. And I haven't been able to adhere perfectly to the nutritional guidance, but I'm down 10 or 15 pounds. And I've really made some great efforts in my diet, and I feel so much better. Except for my legs. The lunges and the squats are, I think, killing me. So upcoming is a commercial from Michael Vespa and Ruthless in Pursuit, and I hope that you'll give them a call. They're available on Instagram, and just contact them through Instagram. And I wish that I had been able to keep up with my fitness a little bit during the program, and this wouldn't be so horrible for me. And there is a way to manage it. I just wasn't able to manage it on my own, and having a really good coach is very helpful for that kind of thing. So contact them, let them know that you came from Real Talk School of Nursing, and good luck. And now, on to the next thing.
So life is a job. Let's not even begin to pretend like it's not. Between your social life, your career, your family, school, maybe even just relationships, whether that's friendships, significant others, all that. There's so many pieces to the puzzle, and a lot of times that becomes work or a job in itself, and then we don't even know where to begin, and the list goes on and on and on. But where are you in all that? Where are you finding time to build yourself up, to take care of yourself? How are you doing that? Do you even know how to begin to do that? For a lot of us, even knowing where to begin or where to reorganize ourselves or to build ourselves up so that we can improve anything else in our life is the scariest part, and maybe even sometimes the most time consuming. And the fact of the matter is that's not always wrong. We're going to go through that in life, the up, the down, the ebb, the flow. That is just growing and learning. But sometimes with all the millions of billions of information that's out there, it's hard to know what is the right answer. And truth be told, there might never ever be one true answer. But what we do know is there are people that are built out there to help us find who we are and what we want. Not to be told what to do or think what they need for us, but for someone to actually listen to who we want to be and how to build that up. Whether that's health and wellness, learning how to organize your life. If that means, what do I do in the gym to feel better, to look better, to feel stronger, whatever it may be, how do I just improve my life? Well, that's where we can come in. We are Ruthless in Pursuit, and we live by 3 key principles: enrich, empower, and optimize. Our staff lives to enrich your life by finding out who you want to be, how you want to build yourself up, where do you want to go, and who is the person that's going to take you there. And then we empower you by giving you smart, educational, real life coaching. Not talking about, hey, do list A through D and success will follow, but hey, let's look at your life and see how we can build success into it through fitness, wellness, mindset, sleep, recovery, everything that comes with life. And the last part of that is optimizing it for you. Putting a plan together for you so the guesswork is gone. You're no longer bouncing around from thing to thing, but you actually have a coach that cares about who you are, who you want to be, your individual goals on a path that will set you up to love yourself and build yourself up better. And look at, hey, how can I maybe implement 1 hour of my day to improve the other 23 that's going on? So if you have questions, you can find us on Instagram at Ruthless in Pursuit. Follow our new client questionnaire with the link in our bio and set up your call to meet with a coach today. We can't wait to help you figure out who it is you want to be.
Okay, here we go. So here's the deal. If you get your name drawn this week, you get your pick of the 10-ounce Yeti tumbler or the 16-ounce thermos with spoon. You have to email the show at realtalknursing@gmail.com or by using Facebook Messenger. Let me know which prize you want and your address, and I'll send it out to you this week. Also, this coming week is our last giveaway for these prizes. So look for the post this coming week. Remember to like the page and share the post. And for extra entries for both Instagram and Facebook, tag a friend. Thank you so much for those of you who liked the page and shared the post. It really means a lot to me that you're spending your valuable time with us on the podcast, on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Don't forget about Ben and Greg's show, the Shift Report podcast, which you can find wherever you download podcasts. And they're also on Instagram. Check them out. Okay, so please write in, and when you get your Yeti or thermos, snap a picture of you with your new Real Talk School of Nursing merchandise and share it with us. Take it with you, get some pictures from friends or at work, have fun with it and share it with the Real Talk School of Nursing family. All right, I'm going to get my super expensive drawing box here. All right. And the winner is Ginny Schauman. Ginny Schauman. So if you are Ginny Schauman, write into the show. Let me know which prize you want, and I'll send it out to you in the mail as soon as I can. And there we go. Congratulations. If you like the show, the Real Talk School of Nursing podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Libsyn Web Player, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. So go to wherever you download podcasts, subscribe, rate us, review us, write into the show, smash that subscribe button, and remember to only leave 5-star reviews because that's the only rating that counts to get us noticed by more nursing students. Write into the show at realtalknursing@gmail.com or on Facebook Messenger. You can also join us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I try to post something inspiring, funny, or thoughtful almost every day. We're building a community of fun and supportive nursing students, and I want you to be part of this crazy nursing school journey. It was awesome chatting with you today. I had a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to keep this podcast rolling. Getting through nursing school isn't just about content. Remember, in nursing school, the only easy day was yesterday, but we can get through this together. I promise. This Real Talk School of Nursing podcast is a Real Talk production. This podcast is dedicated, as always, in loving memory of Doc Thompson. To his wife and his family, my continued prayers and support. Sic semper tyrannis, facta non verba. Good night, Steve Cannon. Wherever you are. Anyang. Now, you go home. The Real Talk School of Nursing podcast is a holy moly, I can't believe you're still listening to this podcast.